In Japan, where the sun rises from the sea and sets through it, fishing is more than just an economic activity, it is the soul. The flesh and blood of the people here. The breath that is closely linked to every wave and every wind offshore. From the windy shores of Hokkaido to the warm coastal regions of Kyushu, the Japanese people have lived with the sea for thousands of years. Children grow up with the smell of dried fish, the sound of waves, and their ancestors' stories of epic voyages in the midst of storms. That tradition has molded resilient fishermen, people who consider the sea their home, boats their best friends, and fish a gift from heaven. Japan's fishing industry thrives not only thanks to its geographical location amid fertile ocean currents, but also thanks to its discipline, perseverance, and modern technology combined with the experience of its ancestors. Before dawn, large and small ships had left the port, bright white lights illuminating the water, creating a scene like a galaxy floating on the ocean. On the deck, fishermen were focused on their work, casting nets, pulling fish, sorting them right in the middle of the sea. Every action was rhythmic and skillful, like a dance practiced for a lifetime. The story does not stop at the ships offshore. As soon as the fish are brought ashore, an entire ecosystem operates in sync, from bustling fish markets like the former Tsukiji market or today's Toyosu. To famous sushi restaurants across the country, a bluefin tuna can be sold for millions of yen, but its value lies not only in its size or freshness, but in the result of the daring, sweat and heart of the people silently behind the silver waves. However, the sea is not always gentle. There are seasons when fish are scarce, and there are storms that overwhelm entire fleets. There are those who leave forever, leaving their sandals at the dock and an unfinished promise to return. But in this harshness, the fishing industry in Japan becomes even more sacred, like an invisible thread connecting the past. Present and future of this nation. Today, in the era of technology and climate change, the fishing industry in Japan is constantly innovating. People use GPS positioning, ultrasonic fish finding devices, automation in processing, and sustainable initiatives to protect marine resources. However, the core is still the people, the Japanese fishermen with calloused hands and eyes that never leave the horizon. Fishing in Japan is not just a profession, it is a symphony of people and the sea. A vivid story of perseverance, aspiration and deep respect for nature. And that story, like the waves in the open sea, will continue forever. There is a small fishing village nestled on the Pacific coast, where the younger generation thought they would leave the sea for big cities. Where the lights never go out and the waves never come. But then, among the skyscrapers, there are young people who suddenly realize that they miss the sound of the waves, the smell of fresh fish, the thoughtful eyes of their fathers every time they return from a fishing trip. They come back, not to relive the past, but to continue writing the future of fishing, a future that is both modern and retains the old spirit. They bring with them new knowledge, new technology, and new ways of thinking. The boats are equipped with smart sensors, cameras that track every movement under the sea. Some even apply artificial intelligence to predict the location of fish schools according to the season. The current, the sea temperature, they create websites, make vlogs, recount their journeys at sea, making the quiet fishing trips suddenly become stories that attract millions of views. The fishing industry is no longer quiet, but has become a source of pride, not only for the Japanese, but for the whole world. At the same time, the awareness of protecting the marine environment has risen more strongly than ever. Old fishermen, who were witnesses to the period of abundant fish, now begin to tell stories about the gradually depleted sea. The story is no longer just about catching, but also about preserving. Limits on the number of fish allowed to be caught, areas temporarily closed for ecological restoration, initiatives to regenerate coral, sustainable fish farming, all become part of the daily life of modern fishermen. In Japan, people do not just eat fish, they eat with gratitude. A piece of sashimi skillfully cut, carefully placed on the plate, is the crystallization of a whole journey, from the ocean floor to the hands of the fisherman, through the hands of the chef and finally, to the heart of the person enjoying it. Every fish, every drop of fish sauce, every grain of salt, is a whisper of the sea, a wordless story about life, about sacrifice, and about the eternal bond between humans and nature. And then, on bright moonlit nights, people still see lightships gliding across the horizon. On the deck, an old fisherman is telling his grandson a story about the time he fought a fierce storm. About the biggest tuna of his life, and about his friend who lay at the bottom of the sea. The boy listens attentively, his eyes sparkling not only with curiosity, but because in his heart, a seed has been planted, the seed of courage, of passion, and of the sacred bond between humans and the sea. The story of seafood fishing in Japan has no end. It lives in every ship that sets sail, in every family meal, in every dream of the children of the land of the rising sun. And as you stand on the shores of Japan, listening to the waves crashing against the rocks, remember that there, beneath the deep blue waters, lies a world of tradition, of aspiration, and of stories that are still being written every day, amidst the hustle and bustle of Japanese ports. As fishing boats arrive with their holds full of fresh fish, a race against time begins, not between people and each other, but between people and freshness. Between their hands and the absolute freshness of the seafood that has just left the ocean. That is when seafood processing plants come into play. On the outside, the factory may look like a cold block of steel, but inside it is a vibrant, orderly, and precise world. Each crate of fish, squid, shrimp, is transferred to the reception area, where workers in pristine white protective suits stand ready as if they know this rhythm by heart. There is no shouting, no chaos. Everything operates like a well-oiled machine that has been honed over decades. In contrast to the traditional image of the manual processing industry, modern factories in Japan are a blend of high technology and skilled hands. Fish are sorted instantly by color and size scanners. Robots gently move each fish to the right line, tuna for sashimi. Mackerel for canning, small fish for drying or fish sauce extraction. No part is wasted, even bones and organs are salvaged for animal feed. Fertilizer, or collagen for cosmetics. In another room, where the temperature is kept near freezing, workers cut fish with thin, lightning-sharp blades. Their movements are fast but unhurried, each cut is precise to the millimeter. A bluefin tuna can be divided into dozens of different parts, each for a purpose, a market, a taste. They don't just cut, they know every fiber, every layer of fat, and the value behind it. Then comes the packaging area, where speed is pushed to the limit. After cleaning, the fish is vacuum packed and super frozen at -60 degrees Celsius using super freezer technology to preserve the cell structure, color and flavor. The label is affixed with a QR code, not only recording the origin but also containing information about the fishing vessel, coordinate location, fishing time and even the name of the fish cutter. Each product is a story, a transparent trace in the strictly controlled value chain, from sea to table. But technology is not everything. What makes Japanese seafood factories different is the philosophy in every step of their work: respect. Respect for the ingredients, respect for consumers and respect for the fish that have sacrificed themselves to become a dish. Therefore, you will not see carelessness or haste. Instead, there is a quiet concentration, as if everyone is performing a ritual rather than a simple job. As the lights in the factory dim at the end of the shift, the frozen containers begin to be loaded onto refrigerated trucks, ready to leave for supermarkets, restaurants, or export around the world. The smell of seafood is no longer strong, only purity, cleanliness, and the feeling of a place where the ocean has been shrunk into each perfect slice. And tomorrow, when the ship docks again, the journey will repeat, a cyclical but not boring cycle, because each fish, each batch, each worker, carries its own story, a story from the ocean, through human hands, to the hearts of those who enjoy it. And somewhere along the journey, you will realize that seafood processing is not just production, it is the art of preserving the taste of the sea in every breath. During peak days, when the fish season is in full swing, seafood processing plants operate almost non-stop. The sound of machinery is like the heartbeat of a giant living body. Each person on the line has a role as important as each cell, whether it is the person standing in the fish washing area or the engineer monitoring the temperature system in the cold storage. Here, even the smallest mistake can ruin a shipment worth hundreds of millions of yen. Therefore, precision, cleanliness and almost absolute discipline have become the identity of the Japanese seafood processing industry. But no matter how disciplined, behind each layer of mask, each pair of rubber gloves are still flesh and blood people. There is a female worker who has been standing on the fish sorting conveyor belt for more than 20 years. Her eyes are no longer as sharp as when she first started. But just a glance is enough to know whether this fish meets AB standards or needs to be transferred to the processing line. There is a young engineer who has just graduated from the Oceanography University. With the ambition to change the production chain to be more sustainable. With less emissions, they work side by side, one generation following the other, a transition not only in work but in spirit. And then, there is a strange moment that often happens at the end of the day. When the whole line pauses, everyone quietly wipes down tools, scrubs the floor, disinfects every hidden corner as a closing ritual. Some people stand watching the fish boxes being loaded onto the truck. Their eyes a little tired but not sluggish, but relieved. Because a full day of work is over. For them, seeing fish reach consumers is not just work, but pride. Factories on the coast often have close relationships with local communities. Children in the village grow up learn a trade, then return to work at the factory, creating a circle connecting the sea, the factory and the people. There are small factories that only process one type of specialty, such as dried fish, caviar, or fermented squid. Some places specialize in super frozen raw fish, exported to Europe and North America, where famous chefs always demand ingredients that are absolutely high quality. Regardless of the scale, dedication never changes. Some people say that Japan has taken seafood processing to a new level, no longer just processing for eating, but processing to preserve the soul of the sea in every piece of meat. And indeed, if one day you have the opportunity to set foot inside a factory here, you will not only smell the sea, but also feel something invisible but very clear: respect for resources, for the profession, and for the long journey that fish must go through to become a quintessential dish on dining tables around the world. Like the fishing industry at sea, factory processing is an integral part of the overall picture of Japan's seafood industry. It is where fish are not just cleaned, but cherished. It is where people not only work, but also preserve and extend the lifeblood of the sea. And there, amid the gleaming knives, the cold conveyor belts, and the silver-scaled vats of fish, a culture shines quietly, like an undercurrent, enduring, yet surprisingly powerful.